Bonjour, peeps. Hi, this is Neshi Lokat. Welcome to Star Nation's organization's main fan page right here at Facebook and our daily live stream about the card draw for the day. And basically, it's I do it every morning anyway. So I connect with my spiritual team and I ask them what is the most important energy for us to know about today, and for our highest good, of course, and that we can share. And so this is the intention for the live stream. And I'm coming to you from Star Nations Academy. This is where I broadcast most of the time. I would say 95% of the time. And it is Tuesday, October 9th. October 9th. We call Tuesdays terrific Tuesdays around here on Star Nations. Why? Because we have several live stream shows on Tuesdays, usually. And I say that because Polly Jo Alabe, who is the host for the live stream show Chakra Sessions, is on vacation. And so she's spending time with friends and family. And so we're shy one show, but it doesn't matter because she's having a good time. I'm sure of it. So it is definitely fall here in Tomah, Wisconsin. I live about an hour east of the Mississippi, and it is beautiful fall colors. Yeah, a lot of yellow, green, and yellow gold going on. And it really is pretty. Don't have a lot of that vibrant red, but I think it was because we had such a dry summer, although it's been raining for the last 3 days, preparing for winter. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to get my phone and I'm going to find our live stream and I am going to like and share the live stream out because I used to do this in the morning, this live stream, and for the last couple of days I've moved it to the afternoon. Actually, I did a couple afternoons last week too. It usually depends on what's going on in the morning and how busy it is. And so right now I am going to go to the fan page and I'm going to find the live stream. And there we are. And I'm going to like it and then I'm going to share it. And I'm going to share it to my news feed first. So I'm just going to say, hi, friends. I'm live streaming right now. Please join me. All right. And then we're going to post that. And then I'm going to share it over to the Star Nations Magazine and Radio Network closed group, because that is probably where the most active Star Nation members hang out. And I'm just going to say, hi, peeps. I'm live streaming right now. Please join me. Here we go. And sending it over to the Star Nations Radio Network closed group. And it's done. It doesn't take too long. I really like those, the quick keys, because, otherwise you have to spell out each one of the words. And so, yeah, so that's done. And so those who will be joining us, if you wouldn't mind liking and sharing the live stream, I would appreciate it, so that more people can find us. I'm learning that on the native live streams, it's not so easy to find. And if we don't share it out or share it with certain people, they're not going to find it. Okay. So here, I'm going to try one more thing. Whoops. Got to turn down the sound. It says Miguel Squelchy. Hey, Jackie's with us. Hi, Jackie. All right. So I'm going to share it out to Julie and Pat and Rochelle and Anne and Jill and Elise and Laura and Deborah. Okay. I think Nellie, Mervyn Kelly's probably asleep. He's in London, and I think they're 6 or 7 hours ahead of us. So, well, actually, let's send it over to him. It's early or mid evening by him, and I'm going to send it over to my sisters too. There, and it's sent. When I do it by my phone, it's so much easier. Yeah. And Jackie saying, loving the sage is burning in the background. Yeah. Yeah, when I came in, it always feels pretty good in here, but I just wanted, it's something about the smell of sage or cedar, because that's what I grew up with, was burning cedar, and lit the candle on the altar, and yeah. And I usually broadcast in the other direction where my back is to the deck, and so you guys can see the woods out there. I just haven't turned the lighting and all of that around from when Polly Joe was here, and she broadcasted it from here on Sunday night, and so she wanted to have the altar in the background, and so that's what we did. That's what was behind her. Speaking of Polly Joe and the weekend, yesterday, I was pretty tired from the weekend. It wasn't so much the class that tired me out. It was I still had everything else that I'm responsible for at home to do. And see, that's one of the things about working from home, and is that you can't just walk away from your usual stuff that you do, right? And so I still had Mom, and not so much George, because Paul was taking care of George. That wasn't the issue really. And making sure that the lunch and supper was taken care of, and that sort of thing. So yeah, it was just kind of in a couple of different directions. But the class itself was, oh my goodness. If you ever have a chance to take a class with Polly Joe LeBay, I'm telling you, you won't regret it, because it's pretty deep healing. The information she gives about the chakras in person, yeah, it was really, really more than what I thought it was going to be. For those of you who watch Polly Joe's shows on Wednesday or Tuesday even, and hey, Anne, hello there, and Elise is here too. Hey, Elise. If you watch her show, you know how she clears energy, right? And sometimes one of her spiritual team comes in, and she relates to that being as the Ancient One, and we hear him talk every once in a while, right? I have to say that to be here in the physical when he arrives is how do I want to say this? It was very loving. That's it. Yeah, it was like meeting an old friend that you haven't seen in a long time. That you had. You know how that goes sometimes with good friendships, is that sometimes life takes you in opposite directions, and sometimes you end up living quite a distance from each other, and you say it's only geography, and it's only geography, but you don't really stay in contact. When you are in contact, it's pretty meaningful, when you get to spend some time together. That's exactly the way it was for me. To be in the physical presence. Yeah, it was really nice. It really was. And the healing that I'm only going to talk about myself, because You know, what you know, that when you're in a class, and especially a kind of healing class like this, there's a lot of trust, right? Trust, and that it's the the deeper experience is really meant for those people who are in the class. But I can share with you my experience. And when it was my turn for the healing, um, yeah, there was a part in there where there was another one of Polly Joe's healing um, spiritual team came in and sang me a lullaby in a language that's pretty ancient, and it went right to my heart, and I just started crying. You know, it's one thing to know that you're loved, but it's another thing to know that you're loved unconditionally and being nurtured. Most of us haven't experienced that, or haven't experienced it in a really, really long time, right? And so that kind of emotional release was pretty intense for me. But one of the things that I was able to connect with and see was, you know, when we say we call in our spiritual team, and we say call them all in, you know, that there's more than just the few that we know the names of. So when I did that, the multitude of them, and even more than because I could hear it. First, it started out with Neshi's on the table, Neshi's on the table, and it was like, you know, how you pass a message along. That's how it was. And by the time it got out to much further out, it was like Beneshi Quez on the table, Beneshi Quez on the table, and so it felt like there was like thousands here, and you know, to the horizon is what I was told. That's how much assistance and the loving, right? Yeah, it was very extremely multi-dimensional for me. It was an awesome experience, and one I will never forget. And I've been in some pretty intense classes with some pretty well-known teachers, and this one, yeah, the healing went right to the root, right to the root. And so this yesterday and today, especially yesterday, I could feel the integration, and yeah, having to be kind to myself, to take it a little easy, and to make sure I drank enough water, and all the things that we get told after a healing, right? I was doing, and I kind of had, I don't want to call it flu symptoms, but it was similar to that, kind of achy. Yeah. But by the time I went to bed, which was kind of late because we're working on the magazine we publish tomorrow, and I'm playing catch up. So we're burning the midnight oil. And so by the time I actually got to bed, I was out. I don't remember any dreams or anything like that. So I'm just saying that if you ever have a chance to do a healing class with Polly Joe, you know, and you want to get to the root of whatever it is that you feel is blocking you or interfering with you or anything like that, do it. It'd be worth every second with her. Yeah. So Elise saying Polly Joe is pretty amazing. Yes, she is. And she is so nice as well. Yeah. And Elise, we have to add this. She has a sense of humor and laughter, you know, so it kind of all balances out, right? So for those who just joined us, if you wouldn't mind liking and sharing the broadcast, I'd appreciate it. And while you're doing that, I am going to show the first card that came this morning. And I have to tell you this one, anything to do with this particular item, I love. Here it is. Drum. Dreams and journey. Dreams and journey. Yeah. Drum. And like I said, anything to do with drums, right? The drum, according to Kyle, because you have to remember that Kyle Gray, who is the author of the deck of cards, and these are the cards that we're using: Angels and Ancestors Oracle cards by Kyle Gray. They're brand new. They were published this year in 2018 and released in mid-September, so they're brand new. We have to remember from what perspective Kyle is writing from. And he is from the UK, right? He's got this little thing that's going like this. Don't like that. Tuck it under. He lives in the UK. He actually lives in Scotland, Glasgow, Scotland. And so he's writing from a Celtic European kind of perspective. Okay. And one of the reasons I like these cards is because there's many earth-based belief systems in this deck. So we're talking about Celtic and pagan, and we're talking Native American and Wiccan and Norse. And so he's drawing on a lot of the ancient information and bringing it into modern day, right? And it so matches Star Nations, right? So here's what he says about the drum from his perspective. The message is: journey inwards to uncover insights and information that will be important for your path. Then follow the guidance. Okay. Hey, thank you, Elise. She shared it on her timeline. I appreciate that. And Mary Anderson Fry just joined us. Hello, Mary. And so the first card that came for us today is drum. And Kyle Gray, the message that he has for this particular card is: journey inwards to uncover insights and information that will be important for your path, and then follow the guidance. Okay. So when we're drumming, even if it's in a social situation like a powwow or possibly in an informal drum circle, there is something about the drum, that beat, that reaches into our hearts, right? But even more than that, if you can imagine, is that the drum beat reaches a part of our brain, a part of our spirit, our soul, that is so ancient. And that's why many of us have this, we're in love with the drum, right? Just the sound of it, even if you may not have a drum, but you love the drum, the sound of it. It reaches that part of our brain, part of our soul that is very ancient and reaches all the way back, for thousands and thousands and thousands of years. Every culture, every indigenous culture, and we're all indigenous to somewhere. Your ancestors may not be indigenous to the United States or North America, okay? But they are indigenous to some continent. And so your roots go back to that continent. And every indigenous culture had some form of drum. Some form of drum. And so when we hear that drum beat, it literally calls to that part of us. I had a friend once say she said she could feel it in her blood. And so it's kind of like we feel it in our blood and our bones, in our DNA. It reaches that far back, thousands of years. And so when Kyle writes that journey inwards to uncover insights and information that will be important to your path. For me, this is the way I understand it, is that even if you're listening to a CD or to a download, an iTunes download of drumming, is that we can use that drum beat to go inside. We can be quiet and we can go inward, right? You don't necessarily have to travel to do that soul travel, that shamanic travel. Is that you just get into the silence, into the quiet, and where the only thing that you're hearing is the drum, and asking your spiritual team to bring you information that's important to the part of the journey, your path that you're on right now, or one that you want to know more about in the near future, right? And so you're making that connection with your team to help you, but you're also using a tool that is ancient. And and at a soul level, we already know the information. It's the process of remembering. The process of remembering. So you can use the drum to do that. And I honestly don't know a better way. So it's my preferred way, actually. Kyle goes on to say that in shamanic traditions in all four corners of the world, the drum is recognized as the main tool used by medicine women and men to direct their will and aid meditation. A drum beat can become hypnotic and send those listening into an altered state that can allow them to journey to the spiritual realms and meet their guides. And it isn't necessarily you're intentionally doing soul travel, but your intention is to connect with that part of your spiritual team who can help you understand and get information, right, about your path that you're currently experiencing or in the near future. I'm going to get caught up with the messages here. Elise says, no worries, since my hair came back in curly, I have wings everywhere and can't control any of them. Always had super straight hair. Well, I've always had naturally curly, not curly, but it has a lot of body to it. And we blame the French ancestry for that. The French Canadian. But yeah, we have a lot of humidity. Yeah, it's about 63 degrees out, and it's been raining for like 3 days, so it's very humid. And when that happens, my hair tends to curl like this. And I could have gone in and used a straightening iron, and that doesn't make any difference unless I have like a ton of styling something in my hair, which I hardly ever do. So, hey, Mary. And Elisa's saying, I still want a real drum of my own. Well, you will. You'll get one. I can guarantee it, Elise, at some point. Because when you say it like that and it feels like you have conviction behind it, it'll happen. And Mary's saying, yes. And Elise says, do you love my Native American flute since I no longer can play my guitar? Yeah, I actually have another friend who actually purchased herself a flute, a Native American wood flute, and is learning to play it because at some point, when and if she's unable to create through her artwork, she wants to still be able to have a creative outlet, and so she's picked up that flute to begin learning about it and learning how to connect with it and play it. But right now, she's a bit busy illustrating another children's book. I highly doubt she's playing the flute. Jackie says, I was drawn to a drum years ago and it came to be mine. I miss drum circles. Yeah. In the culture I grew up in, when I was young, very young, up until probably about a decade ago, um, it was really not just frowned upon for women to even touch a drum, much less play a drum. It was like, you can't do that. It was a big no, right? And that was, I went to into the dancing part of it, dancing to at powwows and competing and that sort of thing. Love it, love it, love it, love it. Still do. Um, and then I think it was 2002 is when I made my first drum. And I thought, a bolt of lightning, it's like going completely against a belief system. But in the process of making that first drum, I found a sense of joy and happiness and um, a connection, a heart connection, right? And so, yeah, that was my step back into a part of me, um, ancient, that's connected to the drum, because I truly believe in my heart that women were the drummers at one time. Not to discount men, they were a part of it too, but I do believe that at one point the drummers were women. And when I first read Lynn Redmond's book, drummers, when the women were drummers, um, that was, I tell you what, I think I read that book like 3 times. It's like, so almost every part of it's highlighted, and so made a huge connection for me, right? Yeah. And now I have many drums. Some of them are in the drum bags that are hanging on the wall right now. We used a couple of them this past weekend. Now, Kyle goes on to say that you're very connected to the other worlds at this time. That's the essence of this card. And so by drawing the card this morning, is that the energy that's important for us to know today is that we're very connected to other worlds at this time. So it's multidimensional, okay? And that the wisdom and the intelligence of the earth and her magic surrounds us. Because most drums are organic material, most of them. There are some that are synthetic, um, and have their place in the life of a drummer. Because I take a synthetic drum with me when I go to Ireland, because it's just so wet there that if I took one of my other natural drums, I would never be able to play it because we'd be drying it all the time. Yeah. So today's card is about connecting with grandmother earth in a way, through the drum, and that our connection is multidimensional. When we hear the drum beat is represents the heartbeat of a mother, right? And so that's one of the first sounds we hear in utero, is our mother's heartbeat. But the drum beat also goes to the heartbeat of grandmother earth. Yep. And then there's another beat, and the other beat is the primal the primal beat of the universe. I think that's where the multidimensional thing comes in. Yeah. He also goes on to say that what you have seen in your dreams and inner vision is not imagination but guidance, particularly if it's been coming to you repeatedly and has the potential to become reality. Dreams come true. Know it and live it, is what he says. Yeah. Drums. Love it. I love it. Elise is saying that is where I'm at. Check out High Spirit Flutes. They're awesome. Mine is cedar and called Sparrowhawk. Aw, thanks for sharing that, Elise. And Jackie is saying, I believe that is true. My drum called to me when I was dancing in the circle and has a painting of White Buffalo Calf Woman on it. Oh, that's nice. That's very nice. Hi, Donna. Anna Welch is here too. Yeah, drum circles. Jackie mentioned that drum circles. The very first drum circle I ever experienced was probably in 2005, I think. Yeah, maybe 2005. I was going to say it's 2004, but I think it was too early. Because remember, I never played a drum before, not a hand drum. My first time I played a hand drum was in 2002. What a memory. Minnie Kansman was actually in that class. We were in California, and we had made a drum, and I think the second to the last day we were there, the whole class, we went up on the hill. It's a bluff, and we used our drums for the first time. And okay, I'm the only visibly Native woman there. Okay, I'm not saying there weren't other Native people there, but I'm the one that was visibly Native American. And remember, this was the first time I had ever played a hand drum. And I was tapping the head drum so tentatively, right? It's like, oh my God, how wanting to make sure I did it right, and yet, not knowing what the heck I was doing. And then there's other women, right? We're just wailing on their drums, and having a good time. And here I am, tap, 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 tap. Oh my gosh. And I honestly didn't play my first drum in public for close to a year. There was a lot of belief systems that I had to face and come up to, and what do I really believe? What's really serving me? And it was a huge, huge step. But I clearly remember that all those years ago. And now, I love it. Play it all the time. Yeah. That was a long time ago. In a land far, far away. All right, so that was the first card that came to us. Okay. Dreams and Journey. About the drum. The second card that came is this one. Winter. Now, we've had this card before. Take care of your needs is the message. And the wolf appears on the winter card. Okay. Take care of your needs. And I want to see page 144. All right, so here's what Kyle says about this card. Take care of your needs. Do everything you need to be at your best. Then move beyond your fears and limitations. So do everything that you can to be at your best. And once we're at our best, we can move past our limitations and our fears. I think it's because we feel more centered, we feel more grounded, more comfortable in our own skin, so to speak. And so our self-confidence is probably higher. And so when we're feeling like that, it's a bit easier to face those limitations and to step over it, step through it, right? Yeah, we have a little bit more courage, and many times we have more support. When we feel good about ourselves. So whatever it is that you need to do to heal, to adjust, to face, is to do it so that you have those limitations that you believe are there can be sidestepped. You can go around them, you can go through them, you can go under them, you can go over them. Is that they're no longer interfering with you. Yeah, that's sunshine coming in is doing kind of an odd thing with the camera, isn't it? Kind of interesting how it's kind of streaky right through here, and then again right through here. Interesting. So Kyle goes on to say that for many of the animal realm, winter is a time of hibernation and retreat. You may wish to curl up in a ball too, but although you may not feel as bright as you'd like to be, a primal force within is encouraging you to continue. The wolf, one of few animals that stay active all year round. Wolves know what it's like to work alone or thrive in a pack. You have an opportunity to move beyond your fears. Although you may feel in the dark, get comfortable with being in the unknown and trust that the light within you will sustain you through what may seem a challenging process. Ask yourself what you need to do to feel supported and alive. When the winter card arrives for in the future position of the spread, or as the last card in the reading, it can also indicate that the coming winter will usher in an important energies with regards to your questions or intentions. So with this card, it's about, so there's many of us that have the power animal or totem of the wolf, right? Hey, Monica's here. Monica, my goodness. It's good to see you in the chat. It's been a while, hasn't it? Elise says, would love to experience a drum circle before I make my journey to the other side. Have been trying to find out info on my great-grandmother, but nothing to find. I guess she really did die on the Trail of Tears. And that is clearly possible, Elise, really. And you have to keep in mind is that a drum circle is not Native American. It doesn't come from the Native American culture. When you talk to a traditionalist, and you ask them about drum circles, most times they won't know what you're talking about because we didn't have drum circles in that sense. It hasn't been until I would say probably the last maybe 10, 15, possibly 20 years that hand drums have been much more available. They're very expensive, and most Native people wouldn't have been able to afford the drum itself, right? Now, doesn't mean that they couldn't have, gotten the parts that go to it, like whatever hide they use and the rim and everything like that. But not everybody is a drummer. Not everyone drums. And so it's quite different experience on a Native American end. Social drumming happens more in powwows, and the big drums, the big powwow drums, are communal. Many times in a few generations ago, it would be a community drum. So people would donate in order to be able to afford to have the drum, to either purchase it or to have it made. And so these days, in modern times, hand drums are much more prevalent, and people are able to afford them, right? And so drum circles actually came about with more of the new age groups back in the 70s and 80s. Yeah. I guess maybe even the late 60s, maybe. Yeah. It's kind of funny, isn't it? And Jackie's saying, Elise, sounds like you carry her in your heart and soul and guiding you on this journey. That does sound like it, doesn't it, Jackie? Elise said, never knew her, Jackie, but she was a Cherokee, and she is truly part of my heart and soul. Yeah. And I know that you want to find out, the formal bits and pieces about her to prove that, maybe just to prove that she actually existed. Um, but you know what, Elise, I think is that you can meet with her anytime, soul to soul, spirit to spirit, anytime. And that connection really is just between you and her. It's not between you, her, and, a dozen other people. Um, you can meet with her anytime. And if you do get a drum, you don't necessarily have to be in a drum circle to do that. You can be all by your lonesome in there. You could even do it using your flute. You don't even necessarily need a drum. You could use it using your flute. Yeah. I think that's very exciting, is to be able to use your flute to bring yourself to that quiet place. The Onondaga Nation out east, they call it going into the silence. And when you do that, you literally are, well, you're in a trance-like state, and you could easily connect with her from there. And Elise is saying, there's so much I don't know. There's just like the rest of us, Elise. There's a lot of things we don't know either. And what I do know from my own culture, um, that just comes from life. But this other stuff, when I talk about sacred geometry or anything like that, is years of study, years of study, years of application. It came with some work, yeah. But we all are in the same position, you know. There's information that we feel that we want or we need for our path, and so we enter reading, we take classes. Yeah, at least you don't need to know her name. Yeah, you don't need to know her name at all. I mean, you can ask her when the two of you actually come together, soul to soul, spirit to spirit. You can ask her that. What was she called when she had a physical body in this lifetime as your grandmother or your great grandmother? Um, and you're right, Jackie. You can just call her grandmother. You find out the Cherokee word for grandmother. In Potawatomi, it's Nokmis. In Ho-Chunk, it's Gaga. Um, and so you can just call her grandmother. You don't necessarily need to know the name that she was given. Yeah, I don't feel that's even necessary. It's more important that you connect with her spirit, what she feels like when you're in her presence. Yeah. I guess what we're trying to say, Elise, is get out of your head and get into your heart. That's what you need. Get out of your head and into your heart, because she's already in your heart. Just move the mental piece to the side. You still need that piece. Don't get rid of it. But is when it comes to connecting with your grandmother, just set that piece aside. It's not the genealogy thing that's important, because you're probably never going to be able to be enrolled or anything like that. And who cares if somebody doesn't believe that you had a Native American grandmother? You do. You believe it. That's the most important piece. And so, is to set aside the formality of it and the formal educational piece of it, and connect heart to heart with her. Yeah. She's probably standing right next to you right now. She's probably standing right next to you right now. So let's get back to this, because I don't want to keep you guys too much longer. Is when we talk about the wolf, and the representing the winter essence of that card, many of us have the power animal or totem of wolf, and the characteristics of wolf. Um, I have to tell you that that when our previous dog Ginger, when she walked on, we spent 4.5 years without a dog and missed that physical connection almost on a daily basis, because that is that is one of my power animals is wolf. And so to not to have that canine spirit in my home was it was hard. Um, but the grief over Ginger was just as difficult. But now that we have George, you know, he's definitely stepping into that energy, that role. That little guy, I tell you what, I really did try to talk to him and tell him, ask him not to be so active spiritually in the class this past weekend. He got pretty sick this past weekend. He was still running around and doing that, but he was purging. He had diarrhea, and at first it was like I thought maybe he had eaten something he shouldn't have eaten, right, and was getting rid of it. But it lasted through the entire class, and so yeah, he was working it. He was helping us, and I'm going to take a picture of it. And this has just happened this weekend. His coat, his fur is changing every day. But over the weekend, what happened was that going down his back, the center of his back, it looks like lightning bolts coming through from the pattern of his fur. And as one of his many nicknames, I was calling him G-Man, little G-Man, George Man, right? Little G-Man. And Paul says to me, he says, I think you're going to have to change that. I think we have to call him Z-Man, because it looks like, the Z from the lightning bolts going down the middle of his back, which is, wow. I saw that and I thought, oh my goodness. So I need to connect with Leslie Serenesi, who's our resident animal communicator here at Star Nations. And I would like to have her connect with George and have a conversation with him and see what's going on. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So Elise is telling Jackie, true Jackie, love Grandmother Earth as well. And Elise is also saying, thanks, Neshi and Jackie needed that. Yeah, and Jackie's right. She says she may connect with you during dream time. And she probably already has. My goodness. To have the thought of her as intensely and for as long as you have, Elise, is that she probably has already made connection with you through your dreams, or just daily, your daily life, coming in and maybe asking, what is it that how can you tell when she's there? Some people, they smell a scent of some sort, whether it's roses or citrus or something like that. Or maybe you see a certain bird all the time. Or maybe it is whenever you have that thought of her, that she kind of goes through your mind. Maybe that's when she's with you. Who knows? But I bet you anything, it feels that way anyway, that she's already made contact. It's just you turning your focus to whatever it is that she's using to let you know that she's there. Yeah. Yep. All right. All right. So Lisa's saying, my grandfather, who I never met, looked very Native American. She was his mother. Okay, so this is a great grandmother to you. Yeah, excellent. All right. Well, when we bring these two cards together, the drum card with the wolf card, right? With wolf. Let's see if we can get them both on there like that. The energy for today really is that this is what I got from it is that we're connected to nature and using that connection to nature, to grandmother, that we can go within. We can go within and we can connect, and much as Elise is talking about her great grandmother, much like that, we can connect to spirit through that, through being quiet, going in and being quiet, using a drum beat even, to get to that point of being quiet and identifying what is it that we can face or heal or connect with. What is it that we need to assist us on this part of our earth journey, our earth walk? And I believe that the essence for today is about we have right at our fingertips exactly what we need to do that. It's taking the opportunity, seizing the moment, carpe diem, seizing the moment to be able to do that. Yeah, Jackie is saying very powerful meaning today. I believe so. I do. And I have to say this is that the essence of these two cards for me on the medicine wheel, drum and wolf, are in the western part of the medicine wheel, and carries the spirit of the west. The spirit of the west. The wolf was put in the west because of how they hunt, how they are most active is at at dusk and also at dawn, but mostly at dusk is when they do much of their hunting, and feeding the community, feeding their pack. And the drum is in the west for me and the medicine wheel that I studied. So, and here we are in October. In October sits due west on the medicine wheel. So there's that too, right? Yeah. So, like I say every day, is that whatever resonated with you in the card draw and the card discussion, is to embrace, to pick it up and hold on to it and see, sense, feel how the energy is unfolding, what it means for you. And if it didn't, that's okay. You can just let it lie or be the messenger and share the recorded live stream with a friend that might be looking for the information or that you feel would enjoy the information, right? Yeah. And today's Tuesday, so Mervyn Kelly kicked off Tuesday shows, live stream shows for us this morning at 9 a.m. He was talking about crystals that he has just recently come into his life, purchased or was given to him, and was telling the story about that. Interesting stuff. And so he's going to be back next month to finish up because he had so many. He's going to do it again. And then, yeah, we got a white truck pulling out of my driveway down at the house. I wonder who that was. And so tonight is my weekly show, Communications from Home, and that's on at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Tonight's topic is experiencing the golden light. Yeah, I got that phrase for the show on Sunday afternoon. So come and join me. I think it's going to be a pretty good discussion about the Creator's Light. So that's at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. right? So enjoy the rest of your Tuesday, and we'll see you back here tomorrow. Tomorrow, probably in the afternoon, because we're going to be publishing, working on toward that tomorrow, trying to hit that deadline, and so probably 2 o'clock in the afternoon, Central Time, 3 Eastern, for the card draw live stream. Okay, so Bama Mina, and that's Potawatomi for until we see each other again. All right, love you guys. Have a good rest of the day.